I feel that as a man, you have to know what you can get away with and what you can do and what you can't.
Congratulations, you're a f***ing predator. Can we talk about something? So I have been seeing this video go around on social media. Apparently, it is a guy who identifies with R. Kelly. If you've been following my YouTube channel in the past couple of years, you know that I've been starting to have some conversation about my experiences with sexual violence when I was a bit younger. I would tell these men that I was underage, and a lot of these men didn't care. And I remember feeling like that was something that was so misunderstood. And I'm so glad that we're starting to have more conversations about this stuff on social media, but I'm terrified by the fact that men are coming on social media and having conversations like this. So this guy is named Glendon Cameron. He is a YouTuber who apparently makes content for men. It's interesting to listen to how men are speaking to other men when they think that no one is listening to them. And the little bit that I've seen from this video has been really, really quite upsetting. So I'm gonna warn you guys, this is gonna be a really rough video to watch, but I wanted to show the full context of this and the full ugliness of this so that we can discuss it. Because believe it or not, there are a lot of men who do indeed feel like this. And there's a reason why he felt so comfortable making a video like this. So we're gonna watch it. Brace yourselves. I have White Claw yet again because I'm a basic ass bitch. Some ASMR for Twitch chat. And I'm gonna be sipping this while we watch because I know that I'm gonna need an emotional support White Claw. So anyway, let's dive into this video.
I could have been a predator. And I am a little sympathetic to R. Kelly. I know that sounds really, really crazy, but hear me out. When I was doing my Craigslist protocols, hot and heavy, I would get a ton, I mean a ton of high school girls answering my ads. And typically I ignored them because even though I have a similar appetite to R. Kelly, I like young women, but I don't like children. But this is how a child tricked me.
Oh,
typically, they would be young. There would be lots of signs that this girl was very, very young. And I would just ignore them. Then this one girl, she answered the ad. We started to talk, and she was an exceptionally mature 17-year-old. Let me say this again. This chick was 17.
So I already have things to say, okay? I already got shit to say because I have spoken with you guys a couple of times about how when I was younger, I used to, be on these Craigslist streets. I remember being young and being very interested in older men. And for years, it was hard for me to actually understand that what happened to me was wrong because when I was younger, I know that I was seeking out the attention of older men. One of the things that I recognized with time, especially as I got older, is that it's very normal for somebody who is a teenager, who is developing interest in sex, curiosity about sex, to have an attraction and interest in older people. That all being said, the reason why I stopped blaming myself was understanding that that feeling was valid, but these adults still had the responsibility to say no. And I think why this conversation always skeeves me out is because I'm 31, okay? And I regularly speak at colleges and universities, and that puts me in contact with people who are in their early 20s. When I interact with somebody in their early 20s, who technically isn't that much younger than me, I feel like I'm talking to a child. I really, really do feel like I'm talking to a child. I don't understand experiencing sexual attraction to somebody who's even younger than that when you're even older than I currently am. One of the things that men would always say to me when I was younger, as this guy is starting to say, is that I was very mature for my age. Now, I know that people who've been in a similar situation are going to understand exactly where I'm about to go with this, but generally speaking, mature for your age is the expression of trauma. When I was younger, I definitely knew how to carry myself, at least I thought. I definitely knew how to carry a conversation. I had a very expansive vocabulary, and I got along with adults a lot. But I also had experienced so many things up to that point that made it so that I was sort of putting on this show of maturity that didn't really align with the reality of what I actually experienced. A lot of times when men tell you that you're so mature for your age, what they're really trying to say is they sort of see the way that you're holding yourself and they process that as vulnerability that they can take advantage of. Generally speaking, that's what these men are seeing. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that some of the things that he's probably going to say in this video are going to reveal just that.
She was different. She actually was a hairdresser, and she answered my ad, and I fucked her. And oh my God, she had these amazingly firm double D titties. That should have been my clue, because when she would lay on her back, they would stand up, and they were not fake titties. That should have been my clue. But, you know, I was caught up in the delicious pussy, and she did everything I wanted her to do. Then one of the things that I would do is I would do social media search on all my chicks just out of curiosity. So I'm like doing my social media search, and I find her Facebook page, and I see her with her high school friends. And I'm like, oh shit. So I call her up and I ask her, because, you know, she told me she was 21. That's what she told me. And I was like, serious question. And at this time, I had fucked this chick.
I don't mean to stop again, but I have such a hard time believing that a grown-ass man could interact with a 17-year-old and not know that she's 17. I really do. I call fucking bullshit. I can't, again, interact with somebody in their early 20s without feeling like they're a child. There have been plenty of situations where I've met a 21-year-old guy and maybe he is attractive to me in one weird way or another, but it feels creepy for me to interact with him. When I look at pictures of myself when I was 19, I remember back then I was dating men in their 50s and 60s, all right? And 19 is of age, and I was dealing with men when I was younger than that. But when I look at these old pictures of me when I was 19, I look like a child. I really, really do. I might have thought that I was putting myself together in a mature way, but I look like a child. And so I have such a hard time believing that these men don't see how young a girl is. I really do. I have a very, very, very hard time because honestly, even your most mature acting 17-year-old still feels like a child because they are a child. I don't know. Maybe this is just a difference in the way that I experience sexual attraction. Maybe this is just a difference in the way that I, go through the world. But youth for me is very obvious. And it's creepy to me when it's not something that at least causes older men pause.
And you cannot unfuck a chick. You can't unfuck her. And I was like, I need you to tell me something. How old are you? And then she got very silent and she said, I'll be 18 in 4 months. Then she also said the age of consent in Georgia is 16, so you're good. And I'm like, so she comes over and we have this conversation because she was everything.
I don't mean to pause so many times, but who gives a fuck about the age of consent? I'm sorry, who gives a fuck about the age of consent? Like, I'm probably going to continue to return to this point because it's something that genuinely confuses me and blows me away. Okay, cool. Age of consent is 16, but you're clearly older than that. Why would you have an interest in having sex with a 16-year-old? It's very creepy and weird to me. Thank God that we have the internet to like listen to men say shit like this. Here's this guy who is not bothered by someone being 16 years old, like talking openly, loudly, publicly about how he fucked this underage girl. And like, frankly, the way that he's saying it sounds very braggadocious, right? He doesn't say this as like, he's not presenting this as like a mistake that he made. He's presenting this as, you know, an identifiable experience. You know, when I was 15 years old dealing with these older men, there's no way in hell those men didn't see my youth. No way in hell. No way in hell these men thought, oh, she must be 21. No. Like, I was a child, and I think that was very obvious. Anyway.
I like women who 5'3". She was 5'2". She had huge titties, little waist, fat ass,
bragging,
pretty toes.
Bragging.
She was my prototype, even though she was extremely young. And you know what I kept doing? I kept fucking her. I kept fucking her because I was like, at this point, I fucked her 15 times. And it was just like, the crime was done. So I just kept fucking her from she was 17 to 22. R. Kelly and I are similar, but we're very different. Because I have safeguards. I know when I'm getting out of control.
What?
And I kind of ran analysis on this.
Oh, you ran analysis.
She was older. Her parents weren't breathing down her neck. And this is how a lot of young girls end up with older dudes. Their parents are not heavily involved in their lives, where they have the time and the freedom to get away with this stuff. And her parents...
Now, when I've spoken about my experiences, one of the things that I've brought up often is that my parents were not checking up on me. So for those of you guys who are not familiar with my story, when I was 15 years old, I met a man online and he was an artist. I've always wanted to be an artist. I was very much determined to make art my career. And so when this older man who was an artist working in Los Angeles invited me out to be his art assistant at 15 years old, I was super, super excited. I had a very rough home life with a family who was not very accepting of me. And so I ran away to LA all the time, and he became one of my main people that I would go out and see. He was really, really friendly at first. He was really, really nice. He was giving me the exact thing that I needed at that time in my life that I was not getting from my family. He was giving me money. He was giving me support. He wasn't judging me. He was introducing me to the Los Angeles art scene. It was kind of a big fucking deal. Then one night, we were over at his friend's place, and he makes a drink for me. Here I am trying to be mature for my age, right? Trying to be so cool and so down that I had this drink. And within the next couple of minutes, I passed the fuck out. He had drugged me, and I didn't wake up until the next morning when I was in his bed with my clothes all fucked up and my body feeling like something had happened to it. I'm not going to get deeper than that, but I know that that's something that happened because my parents weren't checking up on me. Because my parents were not really that worried about me randomly not being at home. Because they were too busy with their shit to really check in on me. Listening to a guy talk about doing exactly the shit that I had experienced, right? That's real hard. I'll be honest. That's really, really hard. And he describes this as like a fail-safe. He's got protections. And he's giving this advice to other men. He is sharing this advice to other men. I hate the fact that the internet exists so that men can do shit like this. But I'm also thankful that so many of these men are willing to show their ass.
From 17 to 22, I fucked this chick for 5 years. And I ain't ashamed at it at all. She was willing. She wanted it. And here we come to R. Kelly. R. Kelly is being portrayed as a predator, right?
I'm sorry for pausing again. I just have so many things to say. He says that she was willing and she wanted it. Let's talk about what probably it really was. When you're in a position like that, where you're experiencing sexual violence, where you're experiencing a man taking advantage of the isolated position you are in life, I don't know about everyone, and I can't speak about everyone, but I know that from my own personal experience, a lot of what I was doing after that point, after that experience I had with that artist, was a direct reaction to my trauma. I became hypersexual. Okay? I had a lot of sex with a lot of men when I was underage. A lot. And I'm pretty sure that if you were watching me outside looking in, you know, you might see me as being a person who really, 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 really wanted it, right? You might even say that I was being very, very positive about it. The reality is that I was so hurt. I was so messed up from what men had done to me that felt like the only thing I was worth. Okay? That felt like the only thing I was worth. And in so many ways, having this much sex, doing this much stuff with these many men, and I can say this now and acknowledge this for what it is now, was a form of self-harm. Not only was it a form of self-harm, it was also a cry for help. I can look back and look at it now and understand that I wanted nothing more than my friends to say something, for my parents to say something, for someone to step in and say, what the fuck is going on? It's you, when you're a kid, your mind is still developing. These things don't really make sense. One thing I'll say about my experience with the artist that I worked with is I went back and worked with him for another year. He raped me, and then I kept working with him. That's something that doesn't make sense to a lot of people, but makes total sense to, I think, a lot of other survivors who have been in a similar position. He was, and he made it this way, the only person in my life who gave me affirmation. He was a safe place for me to lay. Safe in quotations. I preferred, at that time in my life, being abused by him than I did being at home. That was the reality of the fucked up situation that I was in. Again, it is the adult's responsibility to say no. It is the adult's responsibility to say, I don't care how fine you are, how cute you are, whatever. No. And, he clearly seems to be arguing here that there is some responsibility that she shares. There's some responsibility that the young women who he had sex with share here. But in all reality, he was the adult insisting on continuing on a relationship with a child. And the worst part of it is he was probably someone who established a lot of shit for her. 16 to 21, that's a lot. That's a lot of time. And she probably had to do so much work after that to understand that sex and intimacy don't need to be that. One of the reasons why I talk so much about sex positivity and, kink and BDSM and stuff like that is because for the longest time, I didn't have a healthy relationship with sex. Sex was what I did for survival. Sex is what I did for a place to stay. Sex was something that was a violence done to me that I swallowed for what I thought I was getting from it. Which, in retrospect, really wasn't very much, but felt like a lot back then, especially when my mind was still developing. It's probably taken her years to actually genuinely enjoy sex as something more than what it was for her back then. That's the reality for a lot of people who are in that position. Because I remember when I was younger, I had this vague understanding of what sex was. But I didn't really think of it from a perspective of sexual satisfaction. I thought of it from the perspective of, this is something a man wants from me. This is something that a man will perhaps require of me. And when you're in a position where you're trying to survive, you want to become everything these men want you to be. You know, this guy talked earlier in the video about how she was down for everything. She did anything I told her to do. That's because a lot of these men who are older want these young women who don't have boundaries yet, who haven't figured out how to say no, who haven't figured out that this is what they like and this is what they don't like. A lot of these men specifically go after young women because older women will tell them what they want, will say no, will say they don't like that, and they don't like that. They want someone young who doesn't know any better, who doesn't have boundaries yet. Even if we weren't talking about him having sex with an underage girl, that would still be fucking creepy to me. Sex should be mutual. Notice he never talks about how she enjoyed it. He only talks about how hot her body was, how good it was for him. I'm pretty sure that probably extended into how he was having sex with her. Sex with her.
R. Kelly had fame. R. Kelly was rich. And he was reckless. See, he has that appetite. And I'm going to try to explain this appetite to you guys who don't have this appetite. Because the normal man doesn't have this appetite. But there is something special about fucking a young girl who's doesn't have a lot of miles on her. She doesn't have a lot of experience. I remember...
What did I just say? What did I just fucking say?
She was 22, and she did not have a lot of sexual experience when we started messing around. And I pulled out my dick, and she was like, "You think that's going to fit?" So I knew that this girl had a lot of sexual experience.
He's literally bragging.
And there is something special about fucking a chick who doesn't have a lot of sexual experience. Everything you do to her is fun. It's all brand new. And if you've got that type of appetite, it can be insatiable. Like R. Kelly could have had the baddest adult chicks he wanted. But R. Kelly had that appetite. And this appetite could be the downfall of many, many men. Because, you know, I'm not judging because I'm in a part of the kingdom.
I am.
But
I'm
R.
judging.
Kelly allowed his appetite to literally wreck his life. Because once you get into orchestrating a trafficking syndicate, what does this mean? R. Kelly was having other people
he talks about this,
find and vet girls for him.
The way he talks about this,
it got out of control.
It's like, oh, you know, just a casual human trafficking kind of situation on a Sunday. Like, what?
This is the reason that I never got caught, because I never brought anyone else into my circus, so to speak. When I was doing it, was just me and the girls. Never, ever brought anyone else in the circus. But here's my problem. He's being portrayed as a predator. Right?
Yeah, because that's what he is.
Here's the thing. Remember when I started this video and I told you I had all these high school girls answering my Craigslist ads? Did I have a gun to their head? Did I ask them to reply to my ads?
So, and also, like, no offense, but he's not cute. Okay? Like, all jokes aside, all, like, serious comments aside, he's not cute. There's a big part of me listening to this that thinks it's 100% bullshit. Like, he's just bragging about these young, hot girls who want him. But, like, realistically, who wants you? The way he talks about this, I kind of doubt it. I really do. I don't doubt that there are young girls who are interested in sleeping with older men, because I've been there. But I don't really believe that you've just got, you're just so hot that all these like young women are throwing themselves at you, especially with the way that you're talking about it.
They were searching this out. So this is why I have a problem with the predator label, because they were willing participants in the dynamic. You know how common that is? Let me tell you something that happened. And it's kind of out there. I was running my ads, and I had this woman who was a mother. And she was like, "Are you a black bull?" And I was just like, "Yes, I am."
I recently did a bunch of conversations on my channel about race play. A black bull is a black man who comes into usually a white coupling and cuckolds the white man in the relationship. That's not always what it is, but usually black bull is generally just, honestly, shorthand for black man who's willing to be used as a sexual plaything, but in like a dominant way, if that makes any sense. Lots of black dudes are into that. Lots of black men love that. Love that. Love it so much. Love nothing more than being fetishized as nothing more than a dildo for, frankly, racist white people. But, you know, that's not what the topic of this video is. I have a feeling that he's about to tell a fan fiction. But let's listen.
And I want to properly train them. I want you, you know, in the future, we may actually breed them. See, if you guys don't know, there's a whole, the sexual underground, shout out to Ron Wills. There's a whole sexual underground of white women who love having sex with black dudes.
Here we go. See?
They really love having sex with black dudes with big dicks. You know, and I was sitting there like, this can't be real.
I don't think it is.
So she sends me photos of her daughters who are 16 and 17.
I hope this
they're
isn't
pretty
true.
frisky looking. So I play along. So I go to her house, and the mom was hot. And I have a conversation with her, and I was like, "So what do you want to do?" And she says, "It is the white woman's place to be the sexual fuck toy of the black man."
See, this...
And I was like, "Really?" And she said, "Yes." Then you know what I told this woman? She was about 40-ish, 45, 46, blonde, green-eyed, nice rack on her. And I said, "Bitch, get on your knees." And you know what she did? She got on her knees.
He's bragging.
And
He's just bragging.
And I fucked her throat. And I was like, now this is what's funny. Her daughters were in the room.
Okay, but before we acknowledge this disgusting little story that he's trying to tell, can I just say that this guy sounds corny as fuck? This guy sounds corny as fuck. Like, this sounds like a dude who doesn't fuck, who never fucks, who doesn't even change his underwear, bragging about the time he had sex with someone. And I kind of feel like these are fallacious stories. Listen, I know that there are plenty of white women who say exactly that sort of shit. I would not put that past him, but this is a very, very corny man. The way that he speaks, the way that he carries himself. It sounds like a 12-year-old child bragging about the girl he kissed on the playground. But like making it into a larger story than it actually is. This sounds like a fantasy that many black men have, but I just doubt the veracity of the claim. And if it's true, he's probably leaving something out of this story. Maybe drugs. I don't know. because I guess he needs for this story. I mean, because what was he doing on Craigslist? Because let me tell you, there's a lot of drugs on there. What was he doing on Craigslist?
Let me say that again. Her daughters were in the room.
Put the mom under the jail.
Her throat, then I told her to stand up and then strip butt naked. And then I fucked her on the sofa. And her daughters were on the sofa watching the whole thing.
He's just bragging.
And she was like, this is how you take that big black dick, girls. This is how you do it. And I'm just sitting there like, is this fucking real?
No, it's not, probably not.
So I'm fucking
most
the
likely
mom.
not.
Then the mom's like, come over here. And she calls her girls' names. And then she's like, get on your knees. And then she put my dick in her daughter's mouth.
This guy has a 5-inch penis. I promise you, he's got a 3-inch dick.
I almost nutted. It was like, because if you're kinky, this is like the epitome. This is the high level of kinkiness. And then she had the other daughter come over and suck my dick.
See, even the way he said, if you're kinky, sir, Poindexter, listen, I don't want to bully you. I mean, I do want to bully you. Let's be honest. Sir, you ain't never done nothing like this. Sir, I don't believe this at all for a minute. This white woman said, I exist to serve the black man and then fed her daughters to you. Like, I'm sorry. This is some weird fan fiction. Get a job, sir.
And then, essentially, I was fucking all three of them for about 5 or 6 years. I would go over. I would have the mom, and I would have them greet me.
That's the most unbelievable part of this story. Because usually when these kind of people get the BBC, they're kind of like done, honestly. And in 5 years, these white women didn't have a husband or a boyfriend or anything like that. Oh no, I bet the fantasy is that they put aside their little dicked white husband to fuck the big black dick man. I'm sorry. This is just, sir. Your life is not a Pornhub exclusive. I am so sorry. Anyway.
Butt ass naked. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. When people say predator, I'm like, I'm trying to give you guys the other side of the dynamic. I'm trying to give you...
Wait, okay, so even if we're reacting to his stupid argument that these men are not predators, you're literally describing how, like, numerous situations that you've been in where you've slept with underage women. Earlier in the video, you discussed how not to get caught up if you want to have sex with younger women, if you have that appetite, so to speak. Sounds like some predator shit to me, sir. Sounds like some predator shit to me. I am so fucking sorry, my BBC king.
And in the beginning, both of the girls were virgins. I took their virginity.
Virginity, okay.
And the young one, in the beginning, it used to hurt her. Oh my God. And she was like, it hurts, Mom, it hurts.
See, you're just embellishing the story.
And then after a few times and I loosened up that pussy, then she started getting into it. Then she turned, to this day, this girl is a bona fide black cock slut freak. Whoever she's fucking right now is very happy. Very, very happy. So, once again, I don't believe R. Kelly's a predator.
I'm so sorry. This is like an inappropriate... I know. Okay, so... now, Twitch chat. Am I fucked up for laughing at that? Because, like, honestly, bona fide big black cock freak is like... Sir! I feel like you are lying. Bona fide big black cock freak. Now I know you have a 3-inch penis. I don't believe you at all, sir. I don't believe you at all. Because here's the thing. If you were slanging dick like that, if you were such a sexual king, you wouldn't need these little girls. Because let me tell you, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. I've had one White Claw. Let's talk about it. Because here's the reality about these fucking pedos. A lot of these men don't know how to fuck at all. At all. It's crazy for me. Like I said earlier, for me, for the longest time, I really thought that sex was just like a violence that was done to me. I didn't know I was supposed to like enjoy it. And in retrospect, you know, even though the situation was inappropriate and da-da-da-da-da, when I started having sex with men who like actually gave a fuck about me, because notice again, he still hasn't spoken about their pleasure. The closest he's come to speaking about their pleasure is she was a virgin, I took her for virginity, and I loosened her up. She didn't say she came. He didn't say that, you know, she enjoyed herself. Like, these men don't know how to fuck. And I don't want to sit here and try to give sexual tips to a pedo. Let's not get it fucked up. But like, I promise you, like, the reason why this sounds like a dude like just bragging about his shit is because he doesn't know what he's doing at all. I promise you. Maybe I'm not supposed to say that. Maybe that's inappropriate. I don't know. But like, I promise you, you don't know. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Like, even the way he's telling the story, it sounds like he's reading off a fucking like sex story. Like, because even if I'm trying to like take this at like face value, how is him telling you about the fact that her pussy was tight and he fucked these 3 women that were all related and the mom was down with it too? And the mom, like, how are all of these things helping forward the argument that R. Kelly isn't a predator? That this is a normal, you know, desire that a lot of men have. You're just bragging, sir. You're just bragging. And you're bragging about having sex with children.
My perfect age range was like 24 to about 34. That was where I operated quite a bit. But I'm here to tell you that, especially with the billionaire, these girls would go out and recruit girls, and they were adults. They were 100% aware of what they're doing. They were like, I am going to get this girl so she can have sex with this old billionaire. She knew there was no gun to her head, and they were stuffing her palms with cash. How is she a victim? How is he a predator? And
because he didn't stop and say no. Because he didn't stop and say no. You know, little kids want to do shit all the fucking time. Okay? Like, it's, again, pretty normal for a teenager who's curious about sex to imagine having sex with an adult, right? It's still your responsibility as the adult to say no. It doesn't matter if they were going out and getting other girls. Doesn't matter if that's what was going on. It's your responsibility to say no. When I was having all that sex with those men when I was underage, I did not understand how much it was affecting me. I would not understand how much it was affecting me until I was much older. Much, much, much older. I would not understand how hypersexual I was and the fact that that was a response to trauma until I was much, much, much older. Do you know why? Because my brain was still developing. There's something twisted and fucked up about somebody who has reached a point where their brain is developed, looking at somebody who you know for a fact only has an understanding of the most immediate issues in front of them and saying, you know what? I'm going to fuck her anyway. There's something very deeply fucked up about that. Yeah, it makes you a bad fucking person. I don't care how many men I wanted to fuck when I was underage. None of them should have said yes. And I would have probably been thankful for them if they said no in retrospect. Because really, I didn't really want to have sex. I wanted intimacy. I wanted comfort. Like I said, in certain situations, I wanted survival. I didn't really want sex.
So guys, you know, R. Kelly, he went too far. He brought other people in. He had an organization. They probably got him for trafficking and all this other stuff. I never went nowhere near that level. I never had anyone go out and find girls for me.
That's not the problem, though.
Never did that. I did all my own work. And this is one of the reasons I never got in trouble. I would say these young women were complicit. They were willing because he was R. Kelly. Part of this is if R. Kelly wasn't R. Kelly, I don't think none of this would have went down. I feel that R. Kelly pissed off the wrong person. I don't know what he did, but
that's the problem. He pissed off the wrong person. It wasn't the fact that he fucking had sex with children. That was not the problem. That was not the problem. It was the fact that he made the wrong person upset. The world these men live in.
I personally don't think there's anything wrong with older guys liking younger girls. Because at the time he was with Aaliyah, I think he was 21 and she was 16. To me, that's a big age difference. A really big difference.
That's a big fucking age difference. Oh my God. I'm so sorry, but I understand that, like, numbers wise, it's not that much time, but 16 and 20 are very different ages. I was still quite childish at 16. 20, my life was so different. Oh, and Bopnot is telling me that apparently R. Kelly actually got married to Aaliyah when he was 27 and she was 15. Now, I haven't fact-checked that, but for sure, 27 and 15 are very different years. There's truly no way that you could argue to me that that's not predatory. It is. Because I literally, what is a man who's 27 seeing in a 14-year-old, a 15-year-old? What are you seeing? Like, when I look back at all of my relationships with older men, I realize that they literally only saw a young body. They saw a young, fresh body that they could abuse. That's literally it. They didn't care about me. They didn't value me. They saw somebody who didn't have boundaries yet, who was young, who they could take advantage of. That's what they saw. I cannot process how anyone could realistically look at a person who is 15 at 27 and engage with them in a way where you feel like the interaction is equal. It's not. How could it be?
Essentially, I conducted my fuckery in the safe zone. I did stuff I knew I could get away with. I did not go out. Like, there was this one girl, and she was super cute. And then I did my research on her and saw her pictures of her with her mom and dad, which means her parents were very much involved in her life. And that right there would have been the danger zone, because this is how it happens. She comes over, we fuck, she goes home, her mom and dad press her. He's like, I fucked this old man. And next thing you know, mom and dad call the police. Police knocking at your door. That's how that goes down. So I never put myself in the crosshairs of the danger zone. And it really wasn't in comparison to the number of women. It wasn't a lot. But I can tell you, young pussy can be fucking amazing. When you stick your dick in some pussy they ain't never had a dick in it before, woo! It's so tight, it's so warm, it's so snug. And I feel that the R. Kellys, and once again, this white billionaire, put his name in the comments because I know y'all gonna Google him. And I feel that as a man, you have to know what you can get away with and what you can do and what you can't. And
congratulations, you're a fucking predator. Congratulations. You just spent all this time talking about how he's not a predator. I have a similar taste and I'm not a predator. And yet, you're talking about targeting specific women who have no relationship with their family so that you can't go to jail. Congratulations, sir. You're a fucking predator. Why even debate the point? Why even argue against the point? When you have to consider strategically engaging with certain people so that you don't get caught by the cops, that sounds like some predatory ass shit. Guess what? It's also the measurement that a lot of people who do human trafficking use. A lot of the people who do engage in that shit that you say you don't believe in also look for vulnerable people who don't have relationships with their families, who aren't going to be checking up on them. Congratulations, you're a fucking predator.
Once again, I feel that R. Kelly pissed someone off. Because if R. Kelly was
the parents of the kids he was fucking.
Robert, the truck driver, even if he did all of these things, he would have never went to jail. Never would have happened. Because he was R. Kelly, there was...
Okay, so I've been unpacking this thought recently, and I want to bring it to you guys and let me know how you guys feel about it, but this is a realization I've recently had. I've recognized, and this, is obvious, but I don't see the world the way that men see the world. I've recognized that a lot of men, their dream is to accumulate wealth and thus accumulate women and be able to have as many dodgy relationships with those women as possible without any repercussion. I know a lot of rich dudes who use their money to get things from women. And that's like the dream, to be able to be that rich and that successful and that influential that a young woman will be interested in you. And for some men, that is why they accumulate wealth. That is why. So they can have access to very young women without repercussion. And if you spent a bit of time around rich people, which, because of various things I do occasionally spend quite some time with rich people, you just recognize that, like, at a certain point they start feeling like they can get away with anything. They can do anything. They can take advantage of as many things as they want to, as many things as they need to. And morality and legality matters a lot less to them. That's why people like Epstein, people like Weinstein, they were able to have these like whole things going on behind the scenes because they got to a point in life where they knew that they had that much money and that much influence that they can get away with shit. And I've just learned that a lot of men who are pursuing money and influence, they're really trying to pursue it so they can do some shit like that. That's why we often see these YouTubers, these male YouTubers, predating on their young audience. They get to a point where they feel like they are fucking untouchable, where no one could say anything to them, no one can talk shit to them, no one can criticize them, because they are in a position of power, because they have money, because they're paying people's fucking bills. Like I said, I'm still developing this thought. I'm still thinking about it, but I'm just recognizing just how differently I view the world, because I think behind a lot of men's desire to amass riches and fame and influence is they want to be in a position where they can make this kind of argument that he's making. He's rich and that's why he was able to do this and this and this and that. But what I'm stuck with is the fact that whether you're Robert the truck driver or R. Kelly, a young woman is still assaulted. And for some of these men, the argument that they're kind of trying to make here is that the money that these men have makes the assault less bad. Which of course completely negates the amount of trauma that these women are experiencing, that these girls are experiencing. Like, who cares if you're rich or poor? I hate that some men think that because the rapist has money or because the rapist is attractive, somehow, some way the rape wasn't bad.
Something he did. There's someone in power he pissed off. And that's why, because the thing is, they went after him for years and years and years. They were after him like a dog on a bone. They were after him. And there was a reason they were after him, because what R. Kelly did happens every damn day. Right now, there's some old dude fucking a teenager. Right now. Right now. There is some old dude sliding the sausage up in some young pussy right now. This is how common it is. It is a common thing in America.
And you know what? This is the one thing I will agree with him on, is it is common. And what makes these conversations so hard to have often is the fact that people like to say that it's not. They like to sort of imagine that it's not. A lot of people would very conveniently like to believe that sexual assault doesn't happen as frequently as it does. And that makes these conversations so hard to have, especially because a lot of women have been taught to be quiet about this, have been taught not to say anything about this. You don't want to ruin a man's life, do you? You don't want to be ruined by a man because you opened up about what he did to your life, do you? It's taken me so long to like see this stuff for what it is. And the culture that we have around sexual assault, the culture that we have around sexual violence is not one that often allows for this to be said. Because if a lot of women came forward and said, hey, you know, a lot of us have experienced sexual assault, I think some people could hear that maybe. But then when we start having conversations about who did it, that's when people start to get a little weird. My first rapist was somebody who I know was very well liked. A lot of people liked him. He was very, very popular within his little community. I knew back then, if I came out and called him out and said, this guy's raping me, people would be quicker to believe that I was just trying to get some shine from him than they would believe that he actually did what he actually did. So I never reported it. I never said anything. And in so many ways, I'm very happy with the fact that I didn't, because I wouldn't have been able to deal with that back then. I couldn't even deal with it now. You know, dealing with this shit the way that I've dealt with it has made it so that I've had years and years and years of men doing fucked up shit to me that I've just accepted as normal. And I've had to have people actually tell me, hey, this isn't normal. This isn't the average experience. You're being violated. I wish people understood that when we talk about rape culture, part of the problem that we're discussing is how hard it is to unpack this stuff. Because you could, like I said at the top of this video, argue, well, I was an underage girl trying to have sex with these older men, so I deserved it. And that feels like a rational argument. That feels like a valid argument, but it's not. Because you were a child with your mind still in development, and he was a grown-ass man who knew better, but still did it anyway. The onus is not on you as the kid to be responsible. It's on the adult to be irresponsible. Anyway.
And don't even talk about the rest of the world. The rest of the world, hands off, just let that go. But if I had allowed my appetite to get out of hand, I could have been in trouble. And I consciously knew what I was doing, and I got like this sixth sense, right? That lets me know when something's not cool is about to happen. And there was just certain chicks who would answer, and they were tasty, they were beautiful. They would send me photos of their titties and their pussy and all this other stuff.
So you have
and
child
I was just
porn.
like, nope, not that one. That's the danger zone. That is the danger zone. That is the danger zone. That is the danger zone. And I never mess with those chicks. If a girl was young and she was halfway close to her parents, you could be looking at jail time.
Predator.
What they're gonna do,
You're
like
a
when they're with
predator.
you, they're gonna fold, they're gonna take the dick, they're gonna do all this stuff. And when mom and dad start putting the heat on them, they're gonna fold like a cheap sheet. And they're like, and this is what we did. And the next thing you know, mom and dad are calling 911. Because some old man defiled their young daughter.
Yeah, that's actually an accurate description of what happened.
Some old man put his mature penis up in her immature pussy.
Yeah, that's what actually happened.
We can't have that.
Yeah.
We can't have that. You cannot be messing with girls who have intensive parental contact. You can't be messing with them. And I feel, now, once again, there are so many girls out here, like these pimps. These girls are looking for a daddy, and these pimps serve as a daddy figure.
Yeah.
This is like, I'm telling you, sometimes they'll get them hooked on drugs. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes a pimp just has to snap his fingers and this girl will do whatever he wants her to do because she's looking for daddy. She's looking for daddy. So it really depends upon who you are and how you look at this. But I personally don't think R. Kelly's a predator. I feel that he has a voracious appetite. He has a certain type. It is illegal. It's underage. And he allowed that appetite to literally ruin his life because I guarantee you, R. Kelly knows who's after him. And once he figured out that someone was after him, he should have hit the chill pill, but he didn't. He kept going, he kept going, he kept going.
Yeah,
they kept after him, they kept after him.
The problem isn't that he fucked young girls. It's the fact that he got caught. Wow. Fuck you, dude. Oh my God.
Now he's going to jail. So I could have been a predator. Same energy, same appetite, except I'm a nobody. I'm a nobody.
Not anymore.
That's why I was able to do this stuff and get away with it, because I'm a nobody. But if I was an R. Kelly or this billionaire dude, or if I was someone like that, you best believe they would have been on my ass. How dare you be rich, famous, handsome, and be fucking young pussy? How dare you?
Yeah, how fucking dare you?
Do what I want to do, but I can't do because I'm not in your position. How dare you?
It's really weird how these fucking pedos try to make it seem like their interest is normal. Their interest is average. Now, I don't doubt that there are a lot of men, more than we're willing to acknowledge, that are interested in underage girls. It's quiet as it's kept. We spend a lot of time overly sexualizing young girls, so I don't doubt that whatsoever. Quiet as it's kept, there's this sort of we're not ready to have this conversation, but there is this market, an ever-growing one, for women who are willing to infantilize themselves in a sexual way for the satisfaction of men. So I don't doubt that there are more men than we understand who are interested in this shit. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the vast majority of men will look at a teenage girl and say, I don't want anything to do with that because that's a fucking child. Not everyone is a fucking pedo. I can't even talk to a 21-year-old. I can't even talk to a 19-year-old without feeling like I'm speaking to a child. How can you, as a grown man, interact with a 15-year-old and not feel like you're doing something wrong? What's the argument for it? Because she's got a tight pussy, because she's got a young body, because the pussy's good? What? Like, what are you saying? We're almost done.
So, guys, I'm getting ready to do some more training. I'm getting ready to be more active on this channel. So be looking out for that. Hopefully you enjoyed this expose. Shout out to Ron Wills. Shout out to Alan Roger Curry. Those dudes know me very well. So that's all I got for you guys. I will see you in the next one.
So that's the end of the video. This man sat down in front of his camera, pressed record, and then felt comfortable enough to discuss his sexcapades with underage girls. Not only that, but to do it in a context where he's bragging. He said, well, pedophilia is more widespread than you would think, so therefore R. Kelly's not a predator. That was the crux of his argument. Pedophilia is more common than you think, so I guess it's okay that R. Kelly did what he did, huh? I feel like I'm living in the Twilight Zone right now. There's an alignment with this conversation and accumulating wealth. These men make videos about making money and getting women. And this guy just made a video about him having sex with underage girls. And every way he discussed it was braggadocious. Every single way. Seeing this shit like spelt out is quite scary to me. Like I said, I think that a lot of men pursue wealth so they can do shit like this and get away with it. It's creepy to me. Like, look, if I had a daughter, she's getting a flip phone with no internet, because I'm scared. Listen, I remember giving a talk at an intimate violence conference for teenagers, and I expressed that I was very nervous about the way that the internet exists now, because it's even easier now for pedos to get a hold of young girls. So much easier. So much easier. Like, when I was doing the shit that I was doing, it was so, like, around and away, back and around the corner, indirect sort of stuff. But we've got Instagrams, we've got geotagging, we've got all this shit that makes it easier and easier and easier for these old-ass men to find and abuse young women. And it makes me very, 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 very nervous. I hate it out here. I hate it out here. So, those are my thoughts. I would love to know what you guys have to say about all of this. What are the solutions we've got for this? Because I don't actually doubt part of what he's saying, in that there are a lot of men who wish they could do this. And, as I get older and more bitter, I guess you could say, I kind of adjust to this position where we can't wait for the world to change. We just got to make sure that we're prepared for the worst. And, one day I hope to be a parent, and I'm very curious. I'm only half joking about, not giving my daughter an actual phone, but like, how would I protect my daughters from this shit? Because we've got, every day, we've got more and more representations of kids getting into shit and being predated on the internet. And it makes me so nervous. It's so much easier with TikTok and Instagram and all the other apps. It just makes me so nervous. And I really don't know what to do. Because I'm sure there's plenty of other men who feel exactly like this and are doing exactly like this. Like I said, I was with several men when I was underage. Several. And I remember telling these men that I was underage and how they would sort of act surprised. In retrospect, they knew I was underage, but they would act surprised, like they couldn't tell. There's no way you're talking to a 15-year-old and not knowing that they're a 15-year-old unless you're just really trying not to see it. Anyway, on that note, I'm gonna log the fuck out, y'all. I need to cleanse or do something, because like this shit just makes me really uncomfortable, and like it's so alarming to me, and it's so much easier these days. Anyway, I'm gonna log off. Thank you guys for watching this. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks to my Twitch chat for giving me your thoughts and your perspective and for interacting with me here. I really appreciate it. I did this live on Twitch. If you guys want to follow me on Twitch, you should look me up, katblaque, all one word, and follow me there. I archive these broadcasts after I film them and I put them up on my Patreon, patreon.com/katblaque, all one word. And yeah, join me there, and I guess I'll see you guys next time. Bye.